Everyone keeps asking me, will real estate in the Dominican Republic crash? And the answer is no. Well, most of it won't. There is one spot that's absolutely at risk of correcting in the very near future, and I'm standing in it right now. This place is nowhere near the beach. There's a ton of new inventory coming online. Lots of owners are reselling the properties that they've already purchased, and Airbnb demand is fairly low. And yet, you can still make a lot of money buying here. Today, I'm showing you downtown Punta Cana, why this will be the first market to correct, maybe even the only market, but most importantly, how you can invest down here without losing a single dime. Let's dive in. All right, let's first talk about what market means. DR is not a market. That's way too broad a geographic area. And yet, many people always talk about the DR market's gonna crash, the DR market's gonna crash. As I record this right now, the Florida market is going through some things, and even more specifically, markets like Miami within Florida for sure are having some struggles. But there are plenty of other markets within the United States that are doing great. So just like there's no US market, there's also no DR market. But even more than that, there's no such thing as a Punta Cana market. Punta Cana is broken into many different segments and sub-tiers. Cap Cana, Punta Cana Village, those are very different places than downtown Punta Cana. There are different socioeconomic classes buying there. There's beach access versus not, and there's different motivations to buy in all those different spots. Here, let's do a quick map. I'll go at it from above and show you. Up here to the north, there's Cortecito Corrales. These are beachfront markets that have infrastructure issues that are going to be improved in time, and as a result, there's upside potential investing there. So you buy there because you see strong Airbnb usage because it's near beach. You see upside on value. The prices are a little bit lower because of infrastructure issues. And if you're ROI focused, that's where you look. Down here a little further is Bávaro and downtown. Bávaro itself is near beach as well. It's a little grittier in some areas, but others are really nice. And then as you get closer to downtown, you're getting further and further away from beach access, especially when you factor in traffic. Then up here is Vista Cana. Now, Vista Cana is sort of quote unquote downtown, meaning it's not near a beach, nor do they have beach access, but it's its own city with a ton of amenities within it that are growing, as well as a school system that makes it a residential community. So the draw to buy there is very different than buying downtown. Slide down the road a little further, you're getting into Punta Cana Village, Punta Cana Resort. You're talking high-end, premier, family, 600K plus in purchasing power there to own a house. And then down a little further to the south is Cap Cana. People buying Cap Cana for vacation homes, to Airbnb because it's near beach, it's very exclusive and very secure. And along with Punta Cana Village, Punta Cana Resort, Cap Cana has the highest amount of demand for its real estate, as I record this at least. So market, be careful with these broad-based terms. The DR market is not set to crash, nor is Punta Cana. And I don't even know truly if downtown will, but if I'm reading the tea leaves and looking at where inventory is more, it's downtown Punta Cana. One last thing on markets correcting, you have to be really careful listening to the prognosticators say, oh, the DR market's gonna correct, it's gonna crash. First of all, they're being too broad, and number two, they're not giving you any specific date for that. I'd respect it more if you said to me it's gonna crash by November 2025. At least we know right or wrong. And you might be wondering,
okay, Jamie, well, what about you? What are you saying about downtown? You said it's gonna correct by when?
boy, I think you're already seeing downward pricing pressure on downtown, and I think you're going to see that through the end of the year. And the reason is an even more niche submarket within the Punta Cana market. Let me show you. In 2025, as we sit here right now, the entire focus of DR travel, tourism, and real estate is going up market, meaning more luxury buyers want to enter this market, and the Dominican Republic wants to catch up to that demand. Here, I'm going to show you with these Pyroline cookies. So as it stands right now, come on, here we go. 75% of the inventory in the Dominican Republic, or in Punta Cana specifically, is below $150,000. That's what's being built, that's what's being marketed to, is that segment. If one of these cookies represents 5 properties that are on the market, then 15 of them would be 75%. Let me show you. There you go. That is 15 Pyroline cookies representing 5 each, or 75% of the housing stock on the market in Punta Cana. The issue is the economy and everything else happening in the United States and Canada hits the lower tier buyer first, so there's only this many people looking for this much inventory. Now on the flip side, there's about this many people looking for luxury inventory, but the issue right now is the amount of inventory available in the luxury tier, about 320,000 or more. Is about that much. This represents 0.6%. Versus here, you have 75%. With less demand for this and outlandish demand for this, the luxury tier is set to explode over the next few years. I know you want one. You want one, don't you? Here's what you can do. Down below, hit that subscribe button, because over half of you that are watching aren't subscribed. It may not mean much to you, but it helps me a ton if you like my content. Here, you can have this. You gotta subscribe. Hit that, hit it, and you can, hit the button. I appreciate that. Let me give you a little bit more proof of luxury from a company that is actually doing real analysis on the Punta Cana and Dominican Republic market for the first time ever, and I'll show you what they said in an 88-page report that I got my hands on. Let's go. The data is really clear on luxury versus mid to low tier inventory and demand here in the Punta Cana area, and really in the Dominican Republic in general. You're seeing with projects on the North Shore like what Alex Rodriguez has gotten himself into, you're seeing with Cabo Rojo, you're seeing with the W Hotel, the Four Seasons in Miches, the St. Regis inside of Cap Cana, and many, many more projects like it. But the reporting from 2024, this isn't even this year's reporting yet because it's still happening, show that the highest absorption rates, meaning the highest sales velocity, like where the growth is mostly, is in premium areas, notably Cap Cana, Punta Cana Village, Punta Cana Resort, and certain sections of Bávaro. These are properties in the 150,000 to 500K and even higher range. So again, above that low tier range of 150K and below. In addition, there are articles being published right now where visionaries like Frank Rainieri of Gruber Punta Cana are showing that he's trying to go up market, higher level with who's buying here and who's moving here and who's even coming to visit here as a tourist in the Dominican Republic. Downtown back here just can't keep up with that. Beach and near beach are absolutely going to outperform anything that's not near a beach, which is, well, downtown. The report goes on to show that investments in higher tier products, whatever, like marinas and the stuff that's happening all around the coastline are there to attract luxury buyers, luxury travelers, not budget. Not that there's not a place for budget, there always will be. You're always gonna have the Iberostars and the Rius and so on and so forth. But I can tell you, people that watch my channel, I did a whole video on Hyatt Ziva, which is, $900 to $1,500 a night for a couple. A lot of people that watch me are going there. They're not going to the inexpensive places. There's real demand for the high-end stuff, and you gotta believe Hyatt and Four Seasons and W and all these different projects popping up have teams of people that look at political stability, any issues that Haiti may present at the border, GDP growth and other economic factors to say, yeah, we're gonna plunk millions and millions of millions down in Punta Cana, in Miches, in Cabo Rojo, in other places. So putting it bluntly, the country's heavily focused on going up market because look, the reality is those that make less, the moment there's a crunch, they have no disposable income. Those that make, say, 200K plus a year in income as a household, they're just not as affected by tariff policy, tax swings, inflation on groceries. For a family making 200 grand, a 10% bump in a $1,000 a month bill of groceries to 1,100 does next to nothing. But for somebody making 40 grand, that's a big percentage of their disposable income every month. Certainly can't allocate that to visit and let alone buy something in your favorite country like the Dominican Republic. So it's just an economic reality. It's just the way it is. And as a result, you're gonna see places like downtown, I believe, see a correction sooner rather than later. By the way, if you want access to that 88-page report or Q&A weekly with me on a Zoom call, along with experts that I bring in that know a hell of a lot more than me in all different areas of investing and living here, consider joining the DR Inner Circle. We're 300 plus members strong at this point, always looking to grow more. And I promise you what I do there is deliver outsized value for the investment you make. It's $9 a month, cancel anytime. We've got an exclusive Facebook community, but also send everything to you via email, including the calendar invites for all the content that's live. And if you can't make the live stuff, we record it and we give that to you as well via email. Just go down if you're watching on mobile, tap the more button. If you're on TV, however you get to the description portion, click on that, and the very top link should be how to join the DR Inner Circle. All right, now you may still want to buy downtown, and that's okay. I'm going to show you how you can do that by using 3 simple steps where you will not lose and you'll actually make some money. So here are the 3 ways that you can avoid losing money investing in downtown, and even more than that, you can make a nice chunk of change. This conversation is worth one of these Pure Lean cookies. You're jelly, ain't you? You're jelly. It's okay. Subscribe. I'll send it to you, I promise. By the way, every subscribe, I donate to Second Mile Mission to end poverty and human trafficking in the Dominican Republic. They're building schools, they're educating kids. It's a great cause. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. The number 1 way to avoid losing money downtown out of 3 is this. Use Sandbox money. What I mean by that is if you're investing your money into things that you want to secure for your future, you want them to be very, very solid investments, what we call like a blue chip. This would be stocks like Procter & Gamble, Apple, Amazon, companies like I used to work for, Progressive. They're stable, they're steady, they'll have their pops over time, but they're unlikely to lose in the long run. You may not get that 20x return on every dollar you put in, but steady as she goes, it'll grow and it'll secure your money on the downside. It might be real estate in a developed market like the United States or different markets within the US for that matter. Because even that, when I invested in Michigan, I bought in what we call B2C class markets that were reasonably secure, but still had some upside possibility. Where I didn't invest is a D class market like the hood of Detroit, where yeah, Yeah, the return can be great because it's so cheap to buy, but one murder on property is probably going to clear out my entire investment. Overall, the Dominican Republic has a junk or speculative credit rating. Now, they're at the top of that, which is great, and they're moving up, but they're still not yet investment grade. So in many ways, DR is like a penny stock. You don't put all of your eggs in that basket. However, within Dominican Republic, there are more secure and less secure investments as well. Something like Punta Cana, Cap Cana, more secure, long-term. Downtown has a level of security as well. Buying the $10,000 spot in the hood somewhere in Santo Domingo, not a great investment to make. But hey, you do you. But if you're investing down here like you would penny stocks, putting money at risk that you can afford to lose, then that is step one to buying downtown and not having any issue financially. Step two is not relying on any rental income from Airbnb or any other source. Simply put, if you can afford to buy and own the property, including its HOA fees and any cleaning costs that you incur without ever renting it to anybody, ever, to me, that's the better way to look at the investment here. And I'll talk about why in step number 3, but let's just stick with step number 2 for the moment. To be honest with you, I think long-term rental is a better play downtown. There's more demand for it right now than there is Airbnb. These are professionals that work downtown, and you can rent it for, at least to cover your expenses, if not a little bit more, and have somebody in the place so it doesn't get musty and all of that stuff. You don't have to send a cleaning crew every other week to clear out the stuffiness because, hey, we're in the Caribbean. But even short-term is viable, it's just very low demand. So maybe 1 or 2 nights a month is what you would expect. And if you get any better than that, or even any better than 0, you're like, great, that takes care of it. I've got a $200 or whatever HOA fee, 2-3 nights a month, I'm covered. Cleaning crew comes in, takes a look at it, we're square. The point is just don't look at it as a big ROI machine if you're going to buy here. Look at it as something that you want to live in one day, something that you want to vacation in 2-3 times a year maybe. And it's worth it to you to lose a little or just break even by renting it long-term or short-term. And then the third thing you need to do in order to not lose money downtown is simply hold it long-term. Look, downtown's going to correct now, I believe. By the way, make sure you consult professionals. I'm not one. I'm just giving you my thoughts here on YouTube. I've got some experience, but by no means am I the expert or knowing of all. In fact, we'll have to see how this video ages. Check back with me in December, January 2026. But Punta Cana is growing. Dominican Republic is growing. It's becoming more and more a developed economy. And the Punta Cana area in general has things coming, like the Zona Franca, like the logistics hub, which is going to be exporting material all the way up to and including semiconductor chips, or at least portions of them, to places like the United States. And the people that work there are going to make a middle class or better living and can afford a reasonable rent downtown. So there will be demand for this property in the future. Add to that once upmarket becomes a thing, once luxury becomes a thing, a luxury market surrounding a mid-tier market brings price up. And real estate over time rarely ever loses. Look, and I'm saying this as a guy who my first real estate transaction, which was a primary home I bought and then had to become a landlord in later, lost 40 grand. After owning it 15 years, bought it for 140, sold it for 100. The reason was I defied and didn't go about it with the number one rule in mind for buying real estate, and that is location, location, location. While downtown is not the ideal location of locations if you were looking to buy for ROI, it's still downtown Punta Cana. It's still in the most developed part of the Dominican Republic, or advanced or modern part, I maybe should say. There's still demand for many people to buy here and to visit here. There are schools going up constantly in this community because families are migrating here, both in country, from out of country, like the United States, Canada, as well as South America. So if you follow these 3 things as I just said them, number 1, only use Sandbox money. Number 2, expect no ROI from an Airbnb or rental. And as a side hack, think about long-term rental if you're looking to rent. And number 3, hold long-term. It would become very, very difficult in a few years for you to say that you've lost buying in downtown Punta Cana. The problem is people are buying it like it's beachfront. They're expecting Airbnb to just be like, oh, of course, I want to come stay in the Dominican Republic, not in a resort, in the middle of a downtown business area, as opposed to going up the road to Cortecito, spending a little bit more and getting a block off the beach so I can walk to it every day. That's why I bought there. So you got to be mindful of what you're buying, and that's why I think you're seeing people start to list properties in downtown now. Realtors I know have confirmed that. Owners are listing their downtown property. And it's not because it's bad, it's just because they bought with the thought that like, oh, I'm going to buy, I'm going to Airbnb, it's going to be great, I'll be able to afford it because I'm Airbnb-ing, and because Airbnb demand is out by the water and there's so much supply coming online here, they can't afford it. They need to sell it. And when they're in the mid to low tier from a pricing standpoint, it likely means that they're not making as much money in the US as somebody in the luxury tier, so therefore the stress of ownership is financially not viable for them. End of the day, if you buy smart here, you can make some money. Now this video here, YouTube thinks you should see based on what we just talked about here. And if you want one of these Pirulin cookies, you know what to do. Hit subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one.